So I'm feeling into fire energy at the moment. Fire, fire. Especially Aries energy. We have the Aries full moon coming up on October 9th, 2022. And Sagittarius season is like right around the corner after that. And yeah, just very much feeling into the purpose and the power of fire energy and how it actually looks like in the earth realm, in the physical. What are we able to see and hear with our eyes when we're interacting with fire energy? And Aries energy especially. I'm in like a three-way friendship group chat situation where we all three live in different states in the US, and we send little voice messages back and forth, kind of in our own time as we are called and are having fun with it. And this little circle, this little three-sided space has brought to life something inside of each of us. It sounds like they were each expressing how they felt the space had transformed them. And that felt like an invitation from the universe for me to dive into how has the space transformed me. I hadn't even gone there yet, which is cool. Okay, let's dive in. Let's see what's in there. And as I listened to what they were saying about why it was transforming them, it was a lot about like speaking things out loud, like telling more of who you are out loud and claiming it, And a big chunk of what we've discovered about this space and what makes it so powerful is the safety of it. That time and time and time again, we share vulnerable things and are met with love and acceptance and support and compassion and grace. And that is a blessing that I do not take lightly in my life. It is one of the things that tops my gratitude list on a regular basis, because there has been an opening inside of this space around Aries energy, especially, I think, where there is a manifestation power, there's a physical impact that happens when we declare out loud in physical form, this is who I am. This is who I am. This is what I'm about. This is what I've lived. This is where I am now. This is where I'm headed. This is what I want. This is what I deserve. This is what I'm going to fight for. This is what I want to enact out into the world. I have things that I want. Like, I want there to be more love. I want there to be less suffering. I want there to be more understanding, more unity in this time-space reality, first and foremost, all within myself, all within my own experience, because that's really at the core of what each and every one of us are wanting. And that's not wrong. That's why we have an ego, so that we have the power of desire. And Aries energy is all about that. It's ruled by Mars. And so you can always look to like wherever your Mars placement is to kind of get a better understanding even of how your Aries energy might come out of you. But at the core of it, speaking it out loud is really what it takes, kind of regardless of what sign it's in. Like, declaring it and moving forward in that direction, that's Aries energy. And you notice there's not a whole lot of other steps in the process. We're not checking for feasibility. That didn't happen. No, no, no. We didn't ask for a single other person's permission. No, no, no. We didn't get sign off from any other stakeholder. We said, this is what I want and this is the direction I'm going. That's Aries energy. And there is such a power to this tight-knit little friendship that's been cultivated, where we're safe to say out loud, this is what I want. This is who I am. This is what I've been through, and this is what it makes me desire. This is where I'm headed. And being able to talk about those things out loud, it opens up the reality of like literally making it real. It exists. When you say it out loud, it exists. And everything that happens after that just makes it more and more and more real. But like the starting point is always like making that declaration to the world. So I think this is like just super duper timing coming up to the Aries full moon. And this thought around like the fact that this is happening in friendship, and I have had a rocky road in the world of friendship, as have the two of them. And that's not to get into the specifics of that, but just to say that, like, when you get close to other people, when you let yourself be vulnerable with other people, you're allowing your woundedness to come closer to the surface and be more reachable to the impacts and effects of whatever they're going to decide to come back with. And when it hasn't gone so well in the past, that can be a really scary proposition. And yet, the thing about Aries energy that was on my mind when I clicked record was that, so Aries is cardinal fire. Cardinal meaning the beginning. Cardinal signs begin their seasons. Aries is the beginning of spring. It begins new life. It begins fire. It begins the essence of who we are. Fire being like the will of our soul that's burning its way through us, that does not leave us alone. It wants what it wants, and it has something to do here. And yeah, that's essentially how I understand our Aries energy kind of at its core. And that in order to start a fire, there has to be a spark. And in order to make a spark, you need friction. Coming back to, what does fire energy look like when you see it with your eyeballs and you hear it with your ears and you feel it in your body? Fire energy feels like friction. It feels like something bumping up against you in an uncomfortable way that creates a spark, and it lights your fire, and that fire lights up who you are really. And you get to be then the owner of that reality, where you know more clearly, you can see more clearly who you are, because the fire burns brighter, because you let somebody knock into you and make a spark. And now I'm not saying that you, like, this is kind of a Brene Brown quote where she says, it's not kind of, it is a Brene Brown quote, where she says, not everybody has earned the right to hear your story. So these two individuals that are part of this experience with me, they are not people that I chose at random, right? Like this relationship and this train of energy, this momentum has been what I would say is years in the making. That like this friendship has been coming for years in terms of like being energetically connected and going through similar experiences and heading towards this common meeting place. I mean, we've each been heading here with the experiences and the learning and the readiness that we each brought. It had its own life force, this little relationship, this little space that gets created when the three of us get brought together. And there can be loving friction. We can say out loud the things that we believe. And like, I think some of the best parts of the conversations that we have are when one of them is talking about what they believe and how they see it and how they think it works. And in my mind, I'm like this is, I'm owning authenticity here. I'm like, I don't think it's like that. I think like, I think it's like this. And the experiences that flash into my mind of like, what have I lived that helped me to see it that way, those dots hadn't connected before I'm listening to what they believe. That's that like little bit of friction that lights my fire. They bump into me with their belief set that contradicts what I believe. And in that contradiction, that spark lights my fire of understanding myself and makes it burn even more brightly, where I can see what I believe. And I think it just comes back to like, what is the purpose of relationship? right? Like we're right in between the Aries full moon coming up, and we just came off of the Libra new moon where we're having this new realization around the purpose of relationship. And what is the purpose of relationship? That's a very personal question. You know, it's an invitation if you want it to dive into what you think the answer is. And in the divinely loving, frictional sense of what happens when one person is willing to share their beliefs out loud, I'm going to tell you what I think as far as like, I think the purpose of relationship is to help us see ourselves more clearly. I do not think the purpose of a relationship is to find harmony with the other person necessarily, but that's also because I don't believe that it's necessary to be in harmony with the other person in order to love them. I believe that love surrounds every relationship and that the beliefs that we have about the other person either allow us to stay in love with them or not. And the beliefs that we have about other people are little more basically the same thing as deep down what we believe about ourselves in some way, where I genuinely believe, because of what I've lived and the experiences that I've had with relationships, this could definitely change as my lived experience goes on. I expect that my beliefs will evolve. They continue to do so. But right now, I genuinely appreciate this relationship most of all because it helps me see myself more clearly. It helps me understand my patterns. It helps me to get a better sense of the unhealed parts of myself, because in order for somebody to bump up against us and for us to feel friction, there has to be a certain level of unhealed energy in the mix from our side. And usually, unhealed is such a negative connotation word. And so I do want to say, like, unhealed, let's like take that word out and replace it with unclear. Unclear, murky, foggy, not figured out yet. You know, like that feels better to me. So maybe it does to you too. But so there has to be some unclear energy in the mix. And that's like essentially what I'm seeing with like the fire triad as far as Aries, Leo, Sag. This friction of somebody bumping into us and them letting us see our unclear energy more clearly, because now it made a spark and now there's a fire and now you can see that, oh, this is what I believe. And in the light of that fire that friction caused, there is new awareness. And that's where you get into Leo, where now if you will speak your awareness out loud, it will lead you into Sag, where you can have an even deeper understanding of your personal philosophy about life. And in my humble lived experience and opinion, that is how I believe fire energy, and most of all Aries and the friction, plays a part in what relationships are for in this physical experience that we're all miraculously somehow inside.